Okay, so today we're going to talk about how to choose the best method for solving a quadratic equation. The first thing you have to do on the worksheet is change the column here to say solve. Okay, so the first method is graphing. That is when you want to find the roots, the zeros, the solutions, the x-intercepts. So the answer to this problem, the x-intercept is here and here. So that is x equals -2 and x equals 1. We use graphing to solve if we're given a graph. Okay, so the next method is factoring. So this quadratic is in standard form already. Let's see if it factors. What multiplies to 10 that adds to -7? That's x. We're going to do -5 and -2. Set each factor equal to 0. X equals 5 and x equals 2. We use the factoring when the values of a, b, and c are factorable. Factoring can be one of the fastest ways for solving, so you should always check to see if your equation will factor first. Okay, for the square root method, or square root property, go ahead and solve that now. Do not forget your plus or minus. And we choose the square root method when you have just a quantity squared equal to a number, or if there's no b. You also end up using the square root after you've completed the square. Okay, the complete the square method. We're going to use complete the square if b is even. And hopefully there's no value in for a, or the a is 1. Okay, so let's complete the square for this problem. So move the 18 to the right side. Half of 4 squared. Factor. Now we're going to use the square root to square root both sides. Don't forget your plus or minus. And we've solved 2 plus or minus the square root of 22. Alright, and last is the quadratic formula. This is your last resort. You will only use quadratic formula if you can't complete the square, if you can't square root, or if you can't factor. So the quadratic formula is x equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So let's plug in those values. And now simplify. And one last step. The square root of 17 cannot be simplified, so here's our final answer. So this is the thought process you're going to go through every time to decide which is the best method for solving your problem. Now on the back of the same paper, you have 16 equations. You have to decide, and you're going to work with a partner near you, which method goes into, which equation goes for which method. So on your paper, you have to categorize all of your equations, whether it's best solved by the quadratic formula, factoring, the square root method, or completing the square. So we're going to pause the video here so that you can do that. Okay, so I'm going to first put all of the square root property, the square root method equations here. This is a quantity squared, so that goes in the square root method. This is a quantity squared, it's the square root method. Here's the square root method, and here's another square root method. Okay, next on your list was factoring. I think I'm going to go look through all of these trinomials and individually put them as I look at each one. Does anything multiply to 8 that adds to 10? My equations. Okay, so nothing multiplies to 8 that adds to 10, but 10 is an even number, so that is going to go in our completing the square. Here, does anything multiply to 9 that adds to negative 10? Yes, negative 1 and negative 9, so that's a factoring. Let's see here, for 10, does anything multiply to 10 that adds to negative 11? Does negative 1 and negative 10 work? Let's see, will that be a factoring? It is. Anything multiply to 5 that adds to 3? No, so I'm going to put that in quadratic formula because b is odd. Anything multiply to 3 that adds to 3? Nope. And this is odd, so again, that's going to be a quadratic formula. Notice I'm doing all of the problems where a is 1 to start. Here, anything multiplied to 9 that adds to negative 2? No, but b is even, so that's going to be a complete the square. Anything multiplied to 7 that adds to 4? No, but b is even, so that's a complete the square. Again, this one is complete the square, does not factor. Anything multiplied to 8 that adds to 6? A positive 8. Can't see which my categories are here. Okay, so I could do 2 and 4, so that factors. Alright, now we're left with all the ones where a is not 1. I have 1 factoring one left and 2 for quadratic formula. So one of these I can split the middle on. If I try here to positive 2, does anything multiply to 2 that adds to negative 4? No, so that's quadratic formula. Here we have negative 5. And nothing multiplies to negative 5 that adds to 8, so that is a quadratic formula. So last but not least, 4 times 1 is 4. 2 times 2 is 4 and adds to 4, so this equation factors. So every time you're given a set of problems, you have to think about what is the Best method for solving. Okay, in your packet, your homework is a quadratic word problem page. We're going to start number 1 together. So pause the video here while you take out your packets. Let's see, we are given the price of gasoline in the month of March is this equation. So we're given the equation where x equals 1 is March 1st. On what day of March did it reach its maximum? That is at our vertex. So let's see, where is the vertex? When you have the standard form, x equals negative b over 2a will be the x value of our vertex. So that is negative 0.448 over 2 times negative 0.014. For problems like these with the decimals, you may use your calculator to simplify. So if you brought a calculator with you today, you may use that. Okay, so this is negative 0.448 divided by negative 0.028. And those divide nicely to get 16. So on what day in March? Well, if 1 is March 1st, then that would be March 16th. Okay, so for the remainder of class, you're going to keep working through these problems, and hopefully that will give you some more time in the evening to work on your requiz requirements. I have on this last page, when you check your answers on Edline, there are some hints and work to help you. We can pause the video here and leave this up for the remainder of class in case you need some hints.